and is not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the word, this one will be blessed in what he does. If anyone is among you who thinks he is religious and does not bridle his tongue, but deceives his own heart, this one's religion is useless. Pure and undefiled religion before God is this: to visit the orphans, widows in their trouble, and to keep oneself unspotted from the world. All God's people said, you may be seated. Marks of our responsibility concerning our honest walk with God and our fellow human beings are three. I have mentioned the first one, verse 21. We should receive the implanted Word of God. Now, James tells us how we need to do this. Now, if we take just a moment and identify this word implanted, we'll get a clearer understanding of what James is talking to us about concerning this Word of God that we should receive. I have received a lot of things in my lifetime. Many of them I've not done anything with. I received a lot of instructions throughout District 6 schools while I was attending. It is one of the best districts in Spartanburg County. I received a lot while I was there. But as far as taking it in, I did not. That may be the case with many of you concerning your school and where you went. I did absolutely nothing with it. But did I receive it? Yes. Went in one ear and out the other. I did what only I had to get out. That was my object in life and goal and vision. But here in the Word of God, James says it has to be implanted. The FFA group that I was a member of at Dorman High School, we went out one afternoon to graft a peach tree onto an apple tree, which it took. I've never seen anything like that in my life done before. But our ag teacher showed us with that gum rubber and tape and everything how to implant, how to graft. And did you know that little piece of limb that he took off of another tree actually grew onto the other tree? And he implanted that. It took root. That's what James is talking to us about here. When we receive the Word of God, it has to be done according to His Word and His will for our life. It has to become rooted in our lives. It has to become implanted. It has to be something that gets in there and sticks and stays in your life. Becomes a part of, not just something that goes in one ear and out the other. Certainly you can receive those things, but gain anything from it? As far as my education earlier in my life, no. But when it comes to the Word of God, if we're going to be responsible in our lives and not deceive ourselves and end up becoming nothing more than a pretender of something that you say you are, you're going to have to receive this Word of God into your heart. Into your heart. Without doing that, it is impossible for you to be saved. It's engrafted. Some of your passages will say engrafted, others implanted. We might take a look at the parable of the sower, where those 4 souls there represented 4 different hearts, if you will. And of course, we know that first heart was hard, the second shallow, the third was crowded. And those seeds that came up perished because of the crowdedness of the world that came into our lives and just squashed out, if you will, the Word of God. Those first three souls, or those first three people that it represented there, were not saved. Only the last, which became what? Fruitful. Fruitful. Today we live in conditions of deafness. Did you notice there that James also goes on to tell us how we can receive this Word and have it implanted in our lives? You need to back up to 19. He says, let every man be swift to hear. Swift to hear. Let every man be slow to speak. The great philosopher Zeno, of course you've heard this before, said that God's given us one mouth, two ears. We ought to do more listening, more hearing, twice as much, if you will, than we do speaking. James says here, swift to hear, suffering has come to no one in the area of listening. Families, education, marriage, all of these things have suffered greatly in this area when it comes to the listening. Even I myself, according to my wife and some others, have already told me I need to get a hearing aid. You know, that's a good thing in some way, when you can claim a little deafness.
Selective hearing.
You know, I am sometimes swift to hear when my wife speaks to me. Curtis, did you hear that so-and-so is in the hospital? I'm swift to hear when it comes to that, but when she comes out into the backyard and I'm busy doing something and she says that word Curtis in another manner, Curtis! Then I look around under the trees. I even look at Hot Rods. Did you hear something like that? He responds, no, I didn't hear a thing. Sometimes we Christians are that same way when it comes to God and His speaking to our hearts. James says we ought to be swift to hear. You know, there is there's a great difference between listening and hearing. A great difference between listening and hearing. Just one little example. How does faith come? By hearing, not by listening. We can listen and not allow it to enter our soul and our heart or our mind. But we can hear and claim it as a fact. Hearing, faith comes by hearing, not listening. We listen to a lot of things, you know. In fact, there are so many people talking out there today that I'm not sure if anyone is really listening. Everybody I see on cell phones while I'm riding up and down the road is doing a lot of talking, but I don't see anyone doing a whole lot of listening. If they are, I'm not sure they're gathering much information from what they are hearing.